All right, ready to jump in. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something that hits close to home for a lot of folks: California workers' compensation benefits.
Definitely important stuff. And you've given us this document that's really like a crash course in what you need to know.
Exactly, like if you get injured on the job, what kind of help are you entitled to? This document's got it all laid out. First thing that struck me, California's workers' comp, it's a no-fault system.
Right off the bat, that's huge.
So you don't need to prove your employer messed up, you just need to prove you got hurt on the job.
Exactly. And that sounds simple on paper, but let me tell you, actually getting those benefits, it can feel like trying to solve a puzzle sometimes.
That's why we're here, to make it all make sense.
Yeah.
So let's say, hypothetically, you're injured at work. What's the very first thing this document wants you to know?
Well, it jumps right into what they call the Essential 8, benefits, the core stuff you got to be aware of. And at the top of that list, your financial security after an injury, what's known as temporary total disability, or TTD.
Okay, TTD. Makes sense, but break it down for me. How does this protect my wallet when I'm hurt?
Imagine this, you're injured, can't work, those bills are still coming in. That's where TTD swoops in to help cover the gap. It's a portion of your lost income, 2/3 of your usual pay, actually, and it's tax-free.
Whoa, hold up. Tax-free. Okay, that's significant.
For up to 2 years, if your doctor says you need that time to recover.
2 years. Okay, that's a real safety net. What's next on this list of must-knows?
Next up is something that might seem obvious but has a twist: medical treatment. Of course, your employer's responsible for covering the costs of treatment for a work-related injury. That makes sense. But there's a detail in here that I bet you'll find interesting.
Oh, I love a good plot twist.
Yeah.
Lay it on me.
Get this, they're required to cover up to $10,000 in medical expenses before they even officially accept your claim.
Wait, seriously, $10,000 up front, even before they say yes to the claim? Why would they do that?
It's all about getting you that immediate care. You get hurt, you need treatment, you shouldn't have to wait around for paperwork to go through, right? This upfront coverage ensures you can see a doctor, no delay.
That's amazing. It makes so much sense. See, this is why I love these deep dives, always learning something new. Okay, keep rolling. What's next?
All right, now this one tends to trip people up, so listen closely. It's permanent disability, or PD. Now, this isn't about that initial, ouch, I'm hurt phase. It's about if the injury leaves a lasting impact.
So if it affects my ability to work or just like live my life long term.
Exactly. And it kicks in after you've reached what's called maximum medical improvement. Basically, your doctor's saying, okay, this is as good as it's going to get. And to figure out how much you're owed, they use this whole rating system.
A rating system sounds kind of like they're judging my pain.
Kind of, yeah. It's how doctors figure out how much this injury impacts your life. Say you hurt your back, right? Depending on how bad the pain is, how much it stops you from working or doing everyday stuff, your PD rating changes. And that translates to actual money.
Okay, so knowing this stuff, knowing how the rating works, how it impacts the money, that's powerful information right there.
Oh, absolutely. And it can get even more, well, let's say nuanced. Because the payout, it also changes based on your age and the type of work you do. There are a lot of moving parts.
Okay, so having someone in your corner who speaks the language, who can navigate this whole rating system.
In a situation like this, absolutely invaluable.
They can make sure you're not getting shortchanged, that you're getting everything you deserve. Makes sense. So we've covered being completely out of work. What about if you can work some, but the injury's still messing with your paycheck?
You're thinking about temporary partial disability, TPD. That's what kicks in when you can work, but you're making less than before you got hurt.
Right, so it helps cover those lost wages. Sounds pretty straightforward, right?
You'd think so. But calculating that exact amount you're owed, it gets a bit fuzzy because it's all about the difference between what you earned before and what you're making now. This is another one where having that expert eye on your case can be a lifesaver.
I can see that, making sure you're not missing out on a single penny. Okay, so we've tackled 4 of these essential 8 benefits. What else does this document want us to know about?
All right, so this next one, it's a tough topic, but important to cover: death benefits. No one wants to think about it. But in case of a work-related death, the worker's family, their dependents, they're entitled to support.
Yeah, it's a heavy one for sure. What kind of support are we talking about here?
Well, this document says death benefits can go up to $320,000. The actual amount, it varies depending on a few things, like how many dependents the worker had. It's meant to help with those immediate costs, like a funeral, but also to give the family some breathing room financially.
Makes sense, trying to ease that burden during such a tough time. Okay, on to benefit number 7. This one caught my eye: Attorney fees for depositions. Now that sounds like something you don't hear every day.
This is all about making sure you're not alone if your workers' comp case gets complicated. Basically, it means you're covered for lawyer fees during that first deposition.
So that initial questioning, where they grill you about the injury, you can have an expert there fighting your corner. Okay, that's huge.
It is. Depositions can be nerve-wracking, especially when you're dealing with an injury and all the rest of it. Having your attorney there, it levels the playing field, makes sure your side is heard loud and clear.
Like having a guide in a foreign country, you know?
Yeah.
So does this document say anything about, like, what if you need legal help beyond that first deposition?
It does touch on that. While the first one's specifically covered, the document really emphasizes getting legal advice throughout the whole workers' comp process. It makes a point of saying a good lawyer can be super helpful, just navigating the system, making sure you're treated fairly.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff's complicated. It's reassuring to know you have that right to legal counsel. Okay, so we've covered 7 of the essentials so far. What's the final piece of this puzzle?
The 8th one actually ties back into what we were just talking about, having a lawyer present. It basically says you have the right to an attorney throughout the entire workers' comp process. The document really hammers this home, says it's crucial for getting a fair shake.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. This system, it can feel like a maze sometimes. Knowing you have that right to legal help, that's huge.
For sure. It's about having someone who's got your back, who understands all the ins and outs and can fight for what you deserve. So those are the big 8, the essentials. But this document doesn't stop there. It throws in a couple of bonus benefits, too.
Oh, bonus benefits. Now you're speaking my language. Don't hold out on me. What are they?
Think of these like extra layers of protection, especially if things get messy, like if your workers' comp claim gets denied. The first one's called Employment Development Department Benefits, or EDD for short.
EDD. Okay. I've heard of that. Isn't that unemployment? What's it got to do with workers' comp?
Good question. You're right. EDD is usually associated with unemployment, but it can be a lifesaver for injured workers, too. Think about it. Let's say your claim's denied or you're stuck waiting for a decision. That's tough financially, right?
Definitely. So how does EDD help in that situation?
Well, it can bridge that gap, financially speaking. The document says you could get up to a year of EDD benefits, and often it's actually comparable to what you'd get with TTD.
So even if the workers' comp gets held up, you've got EDD as a backup. That's a relief.
Yeah.
Okay, what about this second bonus benefit? What's the deal with that one?
All right, so remember that supplemental job displacement benefit we talked about? That $6,000 voucher to learn new skills?
Yeah, that one's hard to forget. What about it?
So there's this thing called the California Return to Work program. If you've gotten that voucher, you might qualify for another check on top of that. This one for $5,000.
Wait, hold on. $5,000 on top of the voucher? That's amazing. What's the catch?
Well, there's a time limit. You got to apply within a year of getting the voucher. But the cool thing is you can use it for a bunch of stuff: education expenses, transportation, even childcare. It's all about helping you get back to work.
Wow, they really thought of everything with this, huh? Okay, so we've covered the different benefits you're entitled to. This document, it also gets into the how, the actual process of claiming these benefits. And it sounds like step 1 is crucial report, that injury ASAP.
Absolutely. Like, don't mess around with that. The document's really clear. You've got 30 days from when the injury happened.
30 days. That seems kind of short, especially if you're hurting and trying to figure things out.
I know, right? It's tempting to downplay it, think it'll get better on its own, but that's a gamble you don't want to take. Waiting too long, it could mean you lose out on benefits later on.
So even if you're not sure how bad it is, just report it to be safe. Makes sense. Okay, so you've reported it. What's next on the checklist?
Well, the document lays it all out step by step. And surprise, surprise, it all comes back to documentation.
Documentation, the worker's best friend.
You got it. Every doctor's note, every email with your boss, keep it all organized. It'll be your saving grace if things get complicated.
I'm seeing a theme here. Knowledge is power. Documentation is king.
Preach. And this document, it goes above and beyond. It doesn't just tell you the steps. It gives you these little golden nuggets of advice, how to really maximize those benefits, avoid common mistakes.
Ooh, insider tips. Okay, I'm listening. Hit me with your best shot.
One thing it really warns about, watch out for those recorded statements. The insurance company, they might ask you to do a phone interview or something.
They want to get your side of the story.
Exactly. But here's the thing, don't do it without your lawyer there. Your words matter, and you want someone in your corner making sure you're not saying something you'll regret.
So no casual chats with the insurance folks?
Exactly. They might seem nice and all, but they're looking out for their bottom line. Talk to your lawyer first. Always.
Okay, got it. Protect yourself, protect that claim. What about settlements? Let's say they offer you one. What's the advice there?
That's a tricky one. Getting a settlement, it sounds great, right? Cash in hand, who doesn't want that? But this document, it urges caution, big time.
Why is that? What's the catch with settling too quickly?
Think of it this way. A quick settlement, it helps now, but what about down the line? What if that injury needs more treatment than you thought? What if you can't go back to work as soon as you hoped? The document's saying, think long-term, factor in those future costs before you sign anything.
So it's not just about covering today's bills, it's about making sure you're set for whatever comes next.
Exactly. Don't let the pressure get to you. Don't rush into a decision. That's another area where a good lawyer, they can be worth their weight in gold, helping you understand that settlement, making sure it's actually fair for today and for the future.
This deep dive has been a wild ride. I had no idea. There's so much to know about this stuff. I feel like I went from zero to hero on California workers' comp.
That's the beauty of information, right? You're empowered. You know what to look out for. You can fight for your rights.
Exactly. So before we wrap up, any final words of wisdom for our listeners out there now that they're armed with all this workers' comp knowledge?
Don't be afraid to use it. Remember, this system, it's here to protect you. You get hurt on the job, take it seriously, report it, document everything. And if you're feeling lost, don't hesitate to reach out to a professional, get some legal advice.
Couldn't said it better myself. Your health, your rights, those are non-negotiables. And that's a wrap on this deep dive into California workers' compensation benefits. We'll catch you in the next one.
Call now 714-442-9741. Thank you.